Hi everyone, my name is Juan Gabriel Castro, and I'm in 9th semester of degree in English as foreign language, and I developed in my pedagogical practice in Jose Acevedo y Gomez High School. That is a high school located in Acevedo Huila, town near Pitalito. Well, it's supposed that I had to record one of the lessons for the students who I'm developing, I'm working with, but it was a very difficult because in spite of they are 10th grade students, they don't know many aspects of English. They barely know 5 words in English, and that is a very concern because it's supposed that they must already know many things about English. They should have a minimal abilities, minimal competence in English, and well. In fact, I try to speak or explain them the lessons in English, and they couldn't understand. In fact, they got angry because of that, and that is quite difficult when you are trying to explain a topic. So I had to explain them in Spanish most of the time because it's quite difficult. I asked them about their previous knowledge of English, and they, as I just told you, they don't know many things about English. So I started teaching them the verbal tenses, and I started with a simple present tense. That is very important when you are learning English. So what I did is explaining how to build, to make sentences in simple present. In that case, I did this. You can make sentences by using this structure: subject, after that the main verb and the complement, and explain them that the subject could be the nouns or proper nouns. They didn't know how to the subject. They didn't know the nouns, so I had to explain them the nouns. I, you, she, he, it, they, we, and so on. After that, I had to explain them how to conjugate the main verb, and it was very difficult when I tried to explain them how to conjugate the main verb when the subject was a third person. For that is a very confused thing, and I try to explain it the best way possible in order to get them to learn, and I think that took me a lot of effort and time, of course, to make them understand that. And of course the complement, I didn't write this. The complement, this is as its name indicates, this is a complementary information about the main verb, about where the action is taking place, or when, or so on. That topic was very interesting for them because they told me that they had never had an explanation about how to make sentences by using this structure. When I started my learning process, I started with by applying this kind of structure, and they are very useful in order to learn a new language, in this case English. So for the next part, I explain them how to build this is the affirmative form. For the negative form, I explained that we can make sentences by applying this structure: subject, mat, the auxiliary do or does, that I explained them that do is useful. Do must be applied when the subject is the first person or the second person in singular and plural, and of course the third person in plural. And thus must be applied when the subject is the third person. It could be she, he, or it, and of course a proper noun. After that, we have to add the not, or the particle to say not, and after that the main verb and the complement. This is the structure for the negative form of the simple present tense. Subject do or does, depending of the subject of the sentence. We have to add not, or we can use don't or doesn't in order to say no. After that, the main verb and the complement. In this part, the students catches the idea very quickly, because it's quite easy to make these sentences, because the auxiliary for the case of the third person, the auxiliary absorbs, I don't know how to say that, the change that the main verb suffer in the affirmative form. So in this case, the auxiliary does, for the third person, absorbs the change of the main verb. So the main verb, for this case, we must write it, we must say it in its infinitive form. So the students understood this in a very good way, and it was very satisfactory to see how they could write sentences in the negative form, the simple present tense, in a very, very effective way. Of course, they don't know many verbs, so I allowed them. I left them to use a piece of paper with different verbs that they could use in order to make their sentences, and that it was a very interesting activity. For the third part of the simple present tense, I taught them how to make sentences in simple present tense by use in its interrogative form. So, as I told them, the interrogative form is very, very easy, because we only have to change in the affirmative form. We have subject, main verb and complement. For this case, we only have to add before the subject. We have to add the auxiliary do or does, depending on the subject. So the case that is the case is do or does, subject plus main verb, add main verb and complement. Do or does, depending on the subject, verb and complement, and that is the structure for making sentences in the form of interrogative in the simple present tense. This was a very easy for students, because that is the same that the negative form, because the auxiliary does is the case of she, he, and it. Does absorbs the possible change of the main verb. The verb is, for this case, the main verb must be in the infinitive form. Well, for that lesson, I have many problems. Firstly, because students didn't know many things about English. In fact, many of them don't even want to learn English. They told me, I don't know, I don't want to learn English. I hate English. Some of them told me. Well, after explaining them this, many of them could learn and could change their mind about English. They told me that if we keep in mind this, if we apply this in a correct way, the English could be very easy and interesting, and that was a very good experience for me, because at the beginning I thought that I'm wasting my time in that classroom. Well, in the second lesson, I explained them the WH word questions. That is a very useful tool, let's say, to ask for very punctual information, and of course everything in the world needs to be asked in a very formal way and in a very punctual way. So the WH questions are very interesting and necessary for making any kind of sentences in any tense of verbal tense of English. So I explained the main WH word questions. For instance, what I explained the main intention of what, where, when, why, who, and how, and which. I explained them the main aspects of each one of these WH questions, question words. I asked them to make some questions by using each one of these words. And well, at the beginning that was very difficult, because they got confused to make the sentences. They forgot that we only have to add the WH questions before the auxiliar for the interrogative form, and that was very difficult for them, and I had to explain them again and again until they catch the main idea, and at the end of the lesson some of them wrote some questions in a very good way, and that was good, because I thought most of them didn't understand that. And well, I don't know how to say this, but that experience has been a very I don't know, it's a very confused, because some days I think that I'm wasting my time, because many of the students are very rude, and in spite of we are in a rural place. I don't know how things have changed, and they are very rude, and they don't want to learn. And I try to explain them the best way possible, and most of them don't want to learn. And keeping in mind that most of them, the 95% of them, waste their time by social networking. So I decided to make a blog in which I explain them I try to teach them the current topic we are working in class, as a web 2.0 tool, in order to get that they learn in their at home, and while they are, I don't know, chatting or watching videos on YouTube. Most of the students use that tool, and it's very interesting to see how some of them are sharing the link of the blog with the other classmates, and it's very interesting to see that. Well, after explaining after teaching them the simple present tense and the main WH question words, I proceed to make an evaluation of their knowledge. Well, as it supposes, most of the students lost the evaluation, because they got confused with some aspects. They didn't know how to write irregular or regular verbs, and that was very difficult. So I decided to explain then again the topic, in order to clarify any possible doubt they may have. Well, that was a very that it is hard, because some students have learned very clear the topic, and they have to wait until their other classmates understand the topic to proceed to teach the other topic. Well, for another lesson, I taught them the simple past tense, as the simple present the affirmative form was a very difficult for them, because we have to keep in mind whether the verb is regular or regular, and depending of that, the verb suffer a different change in their structure, in this morphology. I don't know how to say that, and that was very difficult to get them understand how to make sentences in simple present and in past, in simple past, in the affirmative form. That was very difficult, but at the end, some students learn in a very punctual way, and they could write some sentences in the affirmative form in a very good way. For the negative, of course, for that part, I also explain that things by applying the grammar structures. For that case, we have to subhead. We have the main verb in past, and the complement. It's quite easy to learn verbal tense if you apply this kind of structures. For me, that was a very useful tool, and so I try to use them to teach in my lessons. So subhead, main verb in past. We have to keep in mind this part, because the main verb can vary depending on whether the verb is regular or irregular. Well, that was the main aspects of the first lessons I taught in my pedagogical practice, and well, for the second part of that lesson, I taught them how to make sentences in the negative form of the simple past tense. Of course, I explained them by using the grammar structure. For that case, it was very easy, because we only have to use an auxiliary, did or did not or didn't, and that is useful for all the subjects, the I, you, she, he, it, they, we. So the students caught this part very quickly, and they feel very comfortable by will making sentences at this tense. For instance, in the negative form, we have to use subhead, during, the auxiliary did, not, so